Good morning everyone. Hope you're all well. Sunday morning here in Australia, probably Saturday night for most of you in the US. As usual, discussing the recent videos and content I've made. Most recently, I uploaded yesterday a long conversation I had with Karu and Boffin, just generally regarding uh, not so much guys being too careful, but comfortably careful, where because we love intellectualizing and planning and perfecting things as guys, we really are wired to sort of put the Tetris pieces in place and measure multiple times before we do the perfect cut to build the perfect thing. And just kind of discussing the reality of that, and whether or not some of us, I know I did in the past a lot, you're too clever for your own good. And so it's worth listening to. Link below this video, and also link in my community tab. So go to my chat channel, and I uploaded that last night. Hope everyone's well. I see there are regulars here. Let me just go through the chat. If you're here in the chat, and you want to ask me a question, make sure you put 3 bright colored circles before your question, and then I'll be able to see it's directed to me. Hi to the regulars. Hey Donna, haven't seen you for a while. Hope you're well. Boffin, how are you? Peg, Rocket, Solitary Mission, Dumbledore, Derp. Who else? What other regulars? Martial Arts, Oriental Medicine. How are you, man? Hope you're doing well. Okay. So if you would like to ask me a question, yeah, put 3 yellow circled emojis before your question, and then I can see it's directed to me. So the title of this stream is Are You Waiting for the World to Change? And it's related to the discussion I had with the guys in this video. And it was about, a lot of us find the intellectual side interesting, and I certainly do. For instance, you can tell I really enjoy the philosophical side. I really love having these deep forensic discussions about life and our ethics and morals and how we can practice them, right? But say in terms of that, say if I just sat there and talked about it and I never actually honestly tried to practice it, you would feel like a fraud. But there's some guys that's all they need. They just need to, swim in that soup every once in a while, shake themselves off, and then they just go back onto their lemming autopilot in life, in their job, how they relate to women, how they censor themselves. They don't want to cause waves, things like that. So the degree to which we're brave online and we really feel alive and say what we think and what we believe, I think the shame of a lot of men is that we just put up this impenetrable wall where we don't allow ourselves to be that open, honest self, our honest selves the way we are with the guys online in our comments section. What we desperately would want to be and be proud to be, we just don't do it anymore because we're so conditioned. And I know it's hard in the world. Pardon me. I know it's hard in the world, but we all know that the answer is not to keep censoring ourselves and not to keep refraining from, saying what we want and things like that. So we can talk in private about what the right thing to do is and what's not fair. But if we don't practice that and voice that in public, this is just going to be the space online is just going to be the equivalent of a man's shed in the backyard where he gets to go and exhale. That's all it's going to be. An example of asking me a question with 3 yellow emojis, although technically it's not yellow emojis, it's baseballs, I think it is. John says, what do you recommend? Am I operating appropriately? I mean, too little information again. Uh, like my videos and streams, it's about looking at all this stuff in context, and the biggest context for you should be yourself in your own life and what you want. So a big thing is that most guys don't trust their instincts. They've been so demoralized, they almost don't have any instincts, or their instinct is something they never look at because it's always seen to be bad guy as advertised by women in society. Like, your instincts as a guy, don't think for yourself. Don't investigate yourself. Don't reflect on yourself. Don't look at things. Don't make assessments. We'll do that for you. You don't really need to have your own opinion, guy. You could have our opinion and just speak it in a deeper voice, as Paul Proteus would say. So you just need to be aware of that. Most of our problems is that we're not saying and doing what our instincts are tickling us to do and say and look at. We just look at the pretty girl in the red dress and we ask her what we should be doing. Okay, guys, there's some jokes going on in the stream, but keep joking around if you want, but I'll answer serious questions. Thanks for the compliments as well. Sorry, Roman. One, I'm not gay, and I'm taken. All right. So, in terms of what I want to talk about today, guys who are waiting, planning for too long, conveniently planning for too long. And again, I'm not criticizing. Look, I am criticizing in a way because I'm criticizing myself. I did this stuff too, so I'm not saying I'm perfect. And I think the people who follow my channel realize that. I openly kind of admit, yeah, I did the same thing as well. But again, let's try and do the right thing. So I was thinking, when the problem with guys is that they don't place themselves in the equation of all this stuff they talk about with women. And it comes a point where, when will you start to practice all this knowledge that we're so smart and clever about? When will you start to even tinker with it? Just you don't have to have the perfect answer, but start tinkering with it. How long do you start? When do you stop researching surfing or skateboarding or something? And when do you buy the board and, have fun falling over? The risk isn't you're going to die. The risk is just, start having fun until you really start having fun. And it's the same with your ethics and going out there, socializing, curating the life that you would be proud of. I don't know. I mean, I do know. But like I said, I'm talking to myself when I talk to you in these videos, guys, as a way to kind of help you save time if you're anywhere like where I was in the way I'm speaking to you. In this chat that we had, Boffin left a really great comment that encapsulates much of what I'm speaking about in this stream. And he said, I thought you both discussed an interesting point regarding how some men utilize the content they consume in the men's community. In my opinion, there is a wealth of information now available to men regarding female nature and the related peripheral topics, but it is generic in nature. And the related peripheral topics, yet many men treat and view this information as being prescriptive and universal and specific to all men and women and deterministic, and it is not. Boffin continues, to analogize a bit, many long conversations can be had about changing the oil in a car engine, the range of tools needed, the myriad of lubricants available, the best work clothing to wear, what to do with waste oil, etc. While it's all valuable generic information and knowledge, it tells you nothing specific about your 2007 Buick LaCrosse CXL with a 3.8 liter V6. To, to, and this is important. It tells you nothing specific. The specific stuff that I keep talking about, the very personal nature in which I keep talking about things and everyday topics and decisions regarding women in your life in my videos, is the time and the part where the rubber hits the road, to piggyback off Boffin's analogy with a vehicle. The specific part is what guys are planning for continuously. And that's why they never get anywhere, because the end goal is the specific. Boffin continues, too many men conflate the generic with the specific. I agree. And until they remedy this misunderstanding and misuse of men's community content, they will move no closer to whatever relationship goals they are striving for. That was really well said. Go and read Boffin's entire comment, which I just showed now. It's underneath the chat we just had. But the specific, I think, is what people are avoiding. And I understand that you want to perfect the generic before you get to your specific, because it's so important. And you think you have one shot. You do have one life, but you don't have one shot in terms of taking baby steps and trying small, very easy recoverable risks, even if they do fail, right? So there's really no excuse except your fear. Your irrational fear. I know you were hurt. That's why you took time out to understand all this information. You found a group of guys that you've got a community, and you don't want to move away from them, because you know that if you start practicing this stuff, there is a high chance that you're going to start living your life and you're going to spend less and less time around your buddies online. I get it. But life is choices, guys. There's no one universal answer. You can't have it all, like many women delusionally think they can. They can't be the CEO of a company and be a fantastic mother. And same with a guy. He can't be a fantastic dad. You can't have it all. Life is about choices, not about perfect answers where you no longer have to make trade-offs. There's a trade-off to everything. Landis, how are you? If you would like to ask me a question, 3 yellow emojis before your question, or do a super chat and I'll see it for sure, because it pops up very prominently during this stream. Bankstrap says, in an age of cancel culture, how does a man of honor act virtuously when injustice is done to him? Personally, if you can speak well in the company of other people, they can get annoyed, but how are they going to cancel you in public if you said and done nothing really wrong? I think because men are consuming low-grade content out there, they're reading less, their vocabulary is worse, they're being censored, they're just always on the back foot, and they keep retreating and retreating. I think a man's best offense is to think and speak better, because then you can stand up for all of this stuff that you believe in. Then you can stand up for the injustice with words and a better mind. Dumbledore, thank you for the super chat. Anyone else who wants to have their comment guaranteed read out during the stream, because there's a lot of comments going on, and I'll try to zero in on these 3 circles before your comment, but there's no guarantee because I've got to keep this going. Yeah, throw me a super chat if you really want to say something. Dumbledore says, speaking of generic to specific, some advice about dating assumes a sizable pool for fishing, so the urban approach doesn't apply to rural living. Yeah, exactly. I made the analogy of, well, everyone says there's plenty of fish in the sea and everyone should fish in the sea, and there's this generic way to fish in the sea, and we can learn about salt water, but at what point do you say, like, I don't even like fishing, I get seasick, why don't I sort of, it's not as easy. The sea's huge and abundant, and it's right in front of me. Why don't I be more specific? Why don't I search out a pond or a lake or a river that's more me? It's kind of a clumsy analogy, but it you get what I mean. So it's easy to analyze the sea because it's the biggest, most objective sort of thing we can measure, and that everyone's sort of in and drops in because it's there. You trip over it without even thinking. But how specific and intentional are you going to be in caring enough about your life to be specific enough to say, well, I'm sick of wading in the sea and pulling out these salty fish and all the problems and the sickness and the seasickness and the like, just all of it. Like, I see people fishing in not in the sea. I see people abstaining from water altogether. Like, let me think about what I want and where I get my sustenance from and what I need. Um, and at heart, this is what my channel is mainly about. Is guys, I want us to think better about what we want. Whether you want a woman, whether you don't, whether you just want to sort of be left alone, you've had enough. You gave it a really good try. You've been married and divorced. You can't see your kids, and you have zero interest. Plus, there's no way you like it's gone. I respect those guys as well. And I'm not saying you have to get married and lose a lot, and then I respect you. I respect you if you do it with a clear conscience and you sleep well at night with no anger and frustration. You're not online constantly frustrated at women in marriage and divorce and stuff, saying that you don't want anything to do with it, but all you do is consume this information. And you could tell that through the language and your content and the way you speak and the way you think and the things you're frustrated with, that you're trying to work out the dating, mating, female puzzle. And even if you did, you'd still be skeptical because you're pissed off. You want to get away from that. So thanks, comment. It's English. It is. I swear. Um, Thanks for the comment, Boffin. And thanks for dropping into the chat as well. Thanks, Karu, for the chat. I encourage you guys to listen to it. We waffled on a bit, but it was mainly directed at a lot of the axioms, and sort of the religion in the men's community, that it's black and white and there's no gray area. And the moment you point to a very, very common gray area or a common negative that's actually like someone who's happily married or something, it's always, it's luck. It's luck. That's an anomaly because the stats say it's 60% divorce rate, right? And I agree, that's the stats. And if you blindly just go on autopilot and let your emotions and biology lead you, you're most likely to be part of that stat. If you don't have any specific standard using your prefrontal, any patience and things like that, any maturity, any way of conducting yourself around women and the choices you make that your father or grandfather would do with a mature, sober mind. If you don't have any of that, yes, those stats apply more to you. And I'm not saying they will never apply to you. They apply to you less, the less you act like the average guy who drinks too much, drives too fast, watches PORN every day. He's got his tongue hanging out, salivating over any woman with a short dress, can never say no to them. He's like a hot, get her into bed kind of guy. The more you're like that, yes, I almost guarantee the stats will apply to you. Perfect fit. But let's not kid ourselves. Just the same as business. If you just throw anyone trying to make a business, they will fail 9 out of 10 times. The times it doesn't fail, or the best chance it has, is someone who is business-minded, who approaches it the right way, who knows what they're doing. They still might fail, but it all depends on your strategy and approach. If you're generic, you apply to the generic stats. If you don't approach things generically, your specific tactic will negate the generic blindfolded biology lemming tactic, I haven't even touched my coffee yet. Some ASMR for people. All right, let's see. Any comments? Any comments or super chats? Rocket Scientist says, if we pretend to be different when we are in public, we are not training ourselves to lie to ourselves. That's right. I think there's a lot of guys have the misconception that they have to lie in real life to survive, and they can only be honest online with themselves and with their buddies who won't judge them and they understand their point of view. I don't think that's true necessarily. I think it's a convenient excuse. I, um, I get what it's trying to say. You know, there's a lot of censorship and guys have to be careful out there. But I think guys have lost the maturity of experience and tact. In the same way, if you go to a funeral, you know when to hold your mouth, what to say, how to speak. When you go to a party, you speak differently. You adjust the dials in your lexicon and your vocabulary and how free you are and how formally you speak. When you go to work as well, you're still yourself, but you have the tact and skill and experience and maturity to adjust your vocabulary and how you present yourself. So I think in the same way in public, you should still be yourself, but you have the tact of, okay, I'm in an office, you might be working somewhere that's very woke. You have to adjust your vocabulary, but you shouldn't have to say yes to things that you morally and in all ways disagree with. You can say, no, thank you. You can be polite, much more articulate than the idiots in the office, and they can get in as emotional as they want. But just like a woman who's pressuring you in a relationship, if she just wants what she wants, you say, no, thank you. Like, I'll give you an answer when I want, or I disagree, I'm sorry. Like, we'll just need to agree to disagree. You don't have to be rude the way they might be being rude in, poking and prodding you. I think we respect ourselves when we act and speak in ways that not just women will respect, who cares about that, but that a guy or your grandfather or for me, like writers that I admire, their language, their thinking, they, speak, act, and become that kind of person that they would be proud of you, that the more refined and sharper and more eloquent, smarter person than these twits, that person would be more proud of you. The submission to woke authority, I think, is at the is one of the things that guys feel ashamed about the most, and the best way to kind of stand up and elevate yourself from that shame is to think and speak better. And given their language and their spurging out, it's not very hard. I just think a lot of guys just don't find self-reflection interesting enough. They don't find themselves interesting enough. They don't find language or, thinking or philosophy interesting enough. And fair enough, people just don't have interest in certain things. There are a lot of things that guys have interest in that, I can try to play tennis with, but I'm not embedded enough like they are. For instance, video games, I have a surface appreciation for, and once in a while, there's a game that really connects with me. I'll play it, but I just don't get hooked in the same way with like Facebook and much of social media. I never understood why people got hooked. I mean, I do understand, but I never personally get hooked by it. I get hooked by things that where I can have conversations with, like for instance, YouTube or Pinterest. I tend to be much more hooked on those because I find them useful for research and conversations and sharing and publishing things. But I digress anyway. But in answer to your question, or what you're talking about, Rocket, we in public, we are practicing to be more ourselves. If you're only yourself in private and with your anonymous buddies online, you condition yourself to only be that way then. And then in public, you're already conditioned a certain way. You need to, uncondition yourself and allow more of this freer, better spoken you to speak in public. Roman, what's what star sign my partner is? I have no idea. September? Whatever star sign that is. I'm not sure. ZX says, since every man's situation is different, are men left with generic platitudes or maxims to gauge whether they are on the right path? How would someone know whether they are too risk averse? Yes, all we're left with, because, masculinity is censored, men are submitting to wives more because, they don't want to lose their kids. They're not with a compatible partner. They know the laws. So kind of the old school brave men that would stand up for principles that they knew were right, like your grandfathers may have, that's gone because they get nothing out of it except punishment. So doing the right thing from a guy's point of view gets you punished. And unless you can articulate yourself better and speak better and think better to be able to do the right thing as a guy, which most often turns into the masculine way to express yourself and answer a point and do the right thing and say the right thing, unless you can articulate the right thing as a guy, masculinity will continue to disappear. So now, like, single motherhood, guys saying yes dear all the time, lest they lose their job, their family, their kids and everything. We don't really get guys knowing how to, being helped how to become the adult version of a man. They get manipulated by women in society and by the women in their lives and their mothers, and often without knowing. They're just teaching you from their point of view, which is not a guy's point of view. Your father, a masculine point of view, will teach you, not just because he cares about you as his son, but he is you in every other way. A woman can care about you. If she's your mother, she can care about you as her son, but she can't from the biological, instinctual, driven standpoint of what a guy is and how A leads to B leads to C. Women's A, B to C is very different. To a man, it looks like A to W to Z to unicorn to apple pie or something. It doesn't make sense. But to a woman, it's A, B, C. So a man being instructed by a woman with all his censorship and hate being piled on him, none of it makes sense. And rationally, what does a man do? He submits to make sense of it. And that seems to be the only thing that works with women. It's like, when I submit to the female authority and the censorship and it's not what I said, it's how I said it. If I just say yes and you're right and I'll just walk and quack the way you want me to and I'll be the duck you want me to, everything logically is then tranquil. The sum 1 + 1 = 2. He wants to get to 2 and he can never figure out what the 1 + 1 is. And he just kind of knows he has to do whatever he needs to do to get to 2. And it's the same way a lot of women, that they will use words to get to their emotional 2. Men use the logic of doing, saying, and whatever to keep her happy and keep himself safe to get to 2. So it's not rational, but both parties want to get to 2, if that analogy made sense. A lot of the frustrations that men have lead back to themselves and how they conduct themselves and how much they self-censor. And again, I know it's hard out there. That's why they do, logically, but also because of their incapacity to speak better and think better, right? And so what are guys left with doing? Analyzing women, the world, the science of everything, the statistics, all of it, very rational. It's very informative. So what do? We focus on everything except ourselves. And what happens is you become invisible in your analysis. And this is the heart of the problem. You analyze everything. I want to make sure you guys understand this. Everything in your analysis becomes real and understood and tactile and appreciated, and cared about and embraced. And it's what life is about. Women, the world, the stats, the blah, blah, blah. But it's all accommodating accommodating women, making them safe, making this it's accommodating the matriarchy of the world. Generally, I know the top of the world is run by guys and always will be, but generally, where we all live, if you're analyzing and making sense of everything but you are unfortunately in freaking visible, guys. And this is why I harp on philosophically about the personal. Your analysis of all the general, the one size fits all general, that is heavily hamstrung by the female memes and advertising and censorship and everything out there, the yes dear, the yes mummy, sort of really reduces and hamstrings you, the guy, how you speak and your courage that is needed, not for them, but for you. A lot of guys just think, oh, well, courage for women, but I don't care about women. This isn't about them, it's about you. And again, if you're not interested enough in this to think and speak better because it's intellectual stuff, it's too theatrical. This is the equivalent of Hamlet holding up a skull on stage, the way Human is speaking. Maybe. I love the beauty of language. I'm sort of a creative and artistic person, so I love the beauty of this. I love I don't just appreciate the information, the ethical, practical information of this. I appreciate the beauty of it working. I appreciate the resultant aesthetics of practical application too. But a lot of you guys just kind of stop and keep recycling the Groundhog Day of, the bubble of a university paper and submitting it to your friends online trying to get an A. Whereas the submission of this is the practical application out there in life. But anyway, any more questions during the stream? Banks the Rap says, any good books recently? I just finished the excellent Modern Masculinity for the Conscious Man by Michael Ronan. Wrote a lot about unconditioning the self. Yeah, Ronan, yeah, he was sort of fairly prolific in the manosphere a little while ago. I'm not sure what happened to him, or maybe he's still around. I just haven't sort of seen him. Again, what you're exposed to online is largely due to the algorithm and the content you watch. I don't watch very much manosphere content because from what I see, all I get recommended and I see and people tell me about is the entertainment-based stuff like Pearl and Fresh and Fit and ABBA and Preach and a lot of those guys who are entertaining and they're enjoyable to watch. But I don't really find many peers that I would enjoy, say, doing a podcast with. And there are a few personalities that I wouldn't mind having a conversation with, but as guys, but in terms of the way we approach and what we like talking about, there's really not many. Whereas when I started my channel back in the day, there were a lot of people that I kind of really felt I was around a familiar campfire with, and we were shoulder to shoulder, but we were each talking from our unique point of view. But we could cross-pollinate a lot of this information, and we'd be building a library around a familiar campfire that made sense. But now it's the manosphere and a lot of MGTOW, and it's just all become about women, about hookup, about dating, rather than yourself, and consequentially all this other stuff. But maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm kind of old school in a lot of this stuff. Not surprising, I'm over 50. Tom Cook, thank you very much for the super chat donation. I appreciate it, man. I really do. Any donation or super chat is very appreciated. But my videos are largely free. So if you want to donate, I really appreciate it. If you want a super chat, it's a donation, but I'm guaranteed to read your message as a bonus. Look, Jack Dawes says, where is it? Jack Dawes says, in defense of the offensive jokers of MGTOW, the continuously mean content, I personally see it as an IV drip that keeps me free from shame and obligation and instinctive obedience. Also, it's fun. Sure, if you're well aware that you're having fun with this stuff, have at it, as long as you're aware. But if what energizes you is reality TV styled stuff, think about the chicks out there who their favorite entertainment is reality TV, and they always show up to watch Married at First Sight and whatever it is, Jersey Shore and Marriage Island and all that trash. If that is their regular exercise, if that's their regular routine that they show up to time and time again, that is the relationship they're having. You are what you spend your time around, what you do. You are what you do, especially with guys. So whether it's entertainment, people, conversations, if you're always watching, if all of your channel subscriptions are the mudslinging entertainment based, oh my God, reality TV styled manosphere stuff, you might be saying, well, it's informative. I'm seeing what to avoid, but you know what to avoid. You can see it from orbit. You just need to be honest with yourself. And when you go on dates, you will be defensively having dates, trying not to go anywhere near the hot chicks you watch in your reality styled entertainment that you want to go on dates with and interact with, because that's where you engage. That's the stuff you have fun with. That's attractive to you. That's entertaining. That's all you know. Why would you go to something that's not familiar? Your entertainment is familiar, and your biology wants safety, and it goes to familiar entertainment. It goes to familiar content. It goes to the familiar thinking of that content. If you enjoy it, you laugh at people who are having awful lives. They give you feel-good endorphins. It's subconscious, a lot of this stuff, but you are going to go to what's familiar. And if all your content is familiar, clickbaity, reality TV style, look at that dumb bimbo, look at those idiot guys, I'm better than them, they are your friends, whether you think they are or not. They are your friends. They are the gravitational pull of the women you're somehow just attracted to because you're attracted to them, without the discernment of your brain. So if you don't put your brain in front or find it interesting enough to protect yourself with that, then go on autopilot and just feel the way you feel, rely on crossing your fingers, and then I'll see you back on my channel in the next few months, or you'll subscribe again to to whatever, Fresh and Fit or whatever your favorite sort of clickbaity channel is. But again, be honest with yourself, your life will get better. It's glib, it's trite, but it's true. Did I? Old school. I prefer old school. Jack Dawes says, let's take it away from women for a sec. What has helped me heal from my military experience more than anything is blatant disrespect of authority and expectation of prescribed identity. Yes. Look, some people need the fight against something to be free. But after a while, if your posture is fight and defense, you may not like the results of always exercising that muscle to feel free. Because imagine, if you've got a good friend, or if you're trying to have a relationship with a woman, that way of trying to feel alive and free is often going to be, not good for people around you. So do what works for you. But if it's relating to people around you, you may want to think about it. And also, even with yourself, if your super ego in your head is the overbearing parent who's kind of putting you down to do the right thing. Come on, get off your ass. If you're, David Goggingsing yourself, that's hard to say. If you're David Goggingsing yourself constantly to do the right thing in an extreme militant way, it may work for you, but punishing yourself, if you're treating yourself like that, like David Goggins, I would say subconsciously you are going to find women, narcissistic and abusive women who treat you the same way, attractive too. Just a guess, but I think it's elementary that could be the case, right? Just something to think about. If you talk to yourself like David Goggins, and that's what makes you feel alive, the hot mess that is drama probably will be attractive too. Now, a lot of this more tranquil, philosophical, older grandfather styled way of speaking, thinking, and calibrating yourself is not exciting. And the lack of excitement also makes you think, well, I'm less excited about this, but I'm more grounded intellectually and sensibly and logically. It actually pulls me away from women because all they are is excitement. True, you may find yourself the more you sort of not tranquilize yourself, but the more you come to a tranquil state of using logic, philosophy, and not being led by your emotions, you only have room for specific types of women, which is, at the end of the day, what we'd all hope we can get if we honestly start to prioritize intellect, speech, doing the right thing, things like that. It's very hard when you're talking about women, but I think it's essential. I found it essential for me anyway. I think Thinking Ape is still class. Yes, he is. He's been around for a while. Thinking Ape's a really good channel for guys, especially very analytical and intellectual guys. What happened to Discord? It got nuked by a couple of spurgs on the channel that posted and said things that any online platform would have you banned for. And so I gave people freedom, just, act maturely, but all it takes is one or two idiots to ruin it for everyone. And so they got my channel nuked. So if you would like to get on with your microphone and chat with a few guys, and I drop in every now and then, I have a link to Guilded, not Discord. It's a different platform that it's essentially the same thing, same sort of look and feel, and you can do the same thing where you can talk to each other and have conversations if you have a microphone. So the link to my Guilded account is, I think it should be underneath this video, but it's also in my About section, About tab on my YouTube channel. Any more questions, guys, before we start wrapping things up? If you would like to ask me a question, put 3 yellow emojis next to your comment here if you're live, if you want me to see it visually on screen, or super chat me during this stream and I will definitely see it. So as I said, I think a lot of the problem is guys either don't have an interest in philosophy, which really starts focusing on what you want, how you think, how you operate, the choices you make, your ethics, morals. People really just find it too maybe literary or airy-fairy or theatrical or, booky or whatever. Fair enough, but you are severely hamstringing yourself if you don't care about your moral philosophy. Sorry, because the moral philosophy is already established out there and it's female. And that's what we're all frustrated about. And the solution is changing your personal moral philosophy, how you speak, think, act, and the choices you make. And if you've got no interest in that, I don't know what my channel can do for you if you're not willing to engage at least a little bit on that level. It's kind of like the person that's trying to lose weight, but they're not interested in nutrition in food. It's the most important part of, your physical health if you're trying to lose weight and be healthy and, uh, things like that. So I don't know how much I can help you. I did a poll last week, and again, it hasn't really changed much. I said, do you think a lot of people are conveniently waiting for the world to change before they start living? As in, before, I wanted to suggest people aren't making decisions and taking it more personally. They're waiting to be saved by the world, by the laws, by women to start changing, by women to start loving them en masse. But it's like, it's a pointless exercise. Even if women magically all, if girl power disappeared, if women just didn't dislike you anymore and they were more optimistic and they wanted you, it will still come down to a lot of the choices and how you're going to speak, act, and what you're going to choose, what's compatible for you, how you want to organize your life with, and then maybe later with another person, things like that. So I don't think it would make a massive difference. It would help alleviate the stress out there publicly in terms of the BS rules in the workplace and what we have to put up with in the media and on TV. A lot of it would be much more transparent. A lot of social media would be much more like, say, the YouTube of 10 years ago. Life in general would be much more freer in terms of freedom of speech. But yeah, most people agree, unsurprisingly, especially for people who follow my channel. Let me see if there's any more comments from. I wanted to. Let me expand my big head on the screen so you can, because I want to make a point of this. Waiting for the world to change and being neutral and waiting for the sand to run out of your hourglass and, just years and years to keep dropping off the calendar. It's convenient, it's safe, you have your friends online. And I think when we think we're being scientific and, men and analyzing, and this is what guys do, we're very intellectual, we measure a lot and we're more logical. I think when we're very stubbornly locked into a scientific loop of discussion, what we miss out on is that, just like a scientist, right? Say a lot of you guys will agree that guys believe in the scientific method, we believe in data, it makes sense for us, it keeps us safe, it's objectively true, right? But just like scientists, if you're mixing two chemicals as a chemist, right, you can't just, what I'm trying to do is, if women are an element in the world, because whether it's women or the world, women are the world now, they run the social sphere where we all live, right? If women are an element and you're an element, most of you guys are just trying to work out the one element. The relationship is like H2O. It's not just H that we just keep analyzing all the time. Women and let's look at hydrogen. Where did hydrogen come from? How is hydrogen? Where was it made in the universe? And blah, 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 blah. It's like your oxygen. It's like, we want to talk about water, but like, don't worry about oxygen. Hydrogen, hydrogen, hydrogen all the time. Even if you're scientifically inclined, you're not going far if you want to talk about water by only talking about hydrogen, analyzing it to death, wanting it to change, without forcefully, willfully putting oxygen in the discussion of the experiment, and then just seeing how you can come up with water. And not to mention, it's like the manosphere's just become so robotic, because this absence of you in the equation, what you think, and the courage and the eloquence to speak and think better, it's just left. Like anything masculine, anything you in this equation is just not there anymore. We are trying to be clever, just discussing a woman's world and what she'll allow us to think, and the censorship and all this stuff, and waiting for the world to change. And We just don't have time. Each one of us is just going to be hitting the grave over and over again. And it's just this same conversation. Unless we hope women change because they get sick of it too. And eventually, like the pendulum, it's already started swinging slightly back the other way. I've noticed after the last couple of years of what's happened to the world, when we've started to come out of that, I've noticed there's a lot of prominent channels now on YouTube where there's a lot of women now finally defending men and talking fairly about relationships. So like the other side is now acknowledging it, but also it's popular. I get that. They're getting clicks. So it is slightly swinging back the other way, but are you just going to wait for mummy to make the world better for you? Especially if mummy's an a-hole, you know what I mean? I don't know. I do know. I don't know why I say that all the time. No, Roman. As I said, I think in the last couple of streams or a video, I said, know thyself. If you know who you are, just be honest with kind of knowing who you are. Jack says, if you exclude women from the future equation, if you ask yourself, what is my first step? You probably already know what it is if you take a second to think. Want to be a photographer? Begin. Exactly. Exactly. Beautiful way to put it. Everyone knows what the first step is, but everyone's like, yeah, but if I take the first step, then there's going to be momentum. And I have no idea if the second step is going to be as easy to do as the first. Guys are just kind of using checkers as a model rather than chess. And you kind of know, I think, that once you take the first step, that you know the first step to take, that you are going to leave your buddies online a bit. You're going to start living a bit. Your life's going to work out a bit more. The planning feels good. I know, like planning a book or a story or a drawing, scribbling, the concept, it's awesome. Doing it is less fun. And so you want to stay at the party of planning a bit more, especially it's your buddies are there, it's comfortable, you can joke, but at some point, when do you get to the point of like, I feel like a fraud. I'm just repeating this. I'm watching the same movie every single day because the movie wowed me. It's like, pick your favorite movie that if someone said, what's your favorite movie? You'd say this movie, right? It's like watching that movie every single day because you do like it. It's not going to have the same effect as the first time it sort of floored you, like finding religion. But you watch it every day because, it's better than a lot of the crap out there. I get it. But at what point do you go, yeah, even I don't feel like watching this today. Let me watch something else. And maybe something else is crap and you come back to familiarity. And that's why a lot of more sensible guys will say, you go back to the teachings and the library of MGTOW and the Manosphere, because when nothing else stimulates the stimulation of, even Marcus Aurelius of hundreds and thousands of years ago, or hundreds of years ago, more like it, I think, is better than the dreck out there. Any last questions or super chats, people? And then I will wrap this up. Yeah, staying in analytics and science and everything, you're just a robot. You're someone in a lab coat. You're doing the numbers, but what you're doing the numbers about is something that's almost completely emotional. Calibrating yourself for the emotions you want to experiment with, fine. But thinking you're almost touching it by talking about it, by dipping your toe, by, pumping and dumping, you're kind of like, you're touching it and moving away. You're touching it and moving away. I don't know. I think guys are missing out on a lot without taking that first step, as Jack Dawes said. So please watch the recent chat and video, comment comment below, like and subscribe. Join the channel on whatever tier you like. It's up to you. All my videos are free otherwise. And yeah, unless there's any last super chats or comments, let's wrap it up because I know I've got a 20-second delay. Terry Dean says, how did you transition into dating again from going your own way as you used to talk about with your earlier content? What changed? I stopped dating. I took myself off all the dating platforms. I honestly made a choice, and I I didn't even cold turkey. I was fed up, and I was just happy to just be happy with my life, my friends, my family, and things like that. And so I literally took myself off all the rubbish that was giving me the same rubbish back. And it just kind of happened in my life without, so I wasn't pursuing dating at all. It's glib and cliche, and I'm not saying that's the answer because I actually just wanted to be left alone. It's about like how you want to live without being angry. Like I wasn't angry at women anymore. It's just like, just leave me alone, please. I want to be happy with my friends and my family. I just don't want to feel alive with anger anymore. It's just pointless. I'm screaming into the void. I'm screaming into space and nothing's coming back. You know, I'm shoulder to shoulder with guys around a campfire screaming into a fire. It's just, I'm done. I said everything I wanted to say in the way I wanted to say it. This, what I'm saying now, is very different. This is really me going my own way. So I didn't start dating again. And that's very hard. Up until a point, only a few years ago, where I did honestly, in like hand on heart, I had enough. I didn't hate women. I was just done. It was just like quitting a job. It was like burning a bridge with no going back. It's not I'm detoxing temporarily from social media or I'm just going to log off my account. It's I am burning it. It's like I'm not going back ever. You make a decision. You know, it's like it's a finality. And again, it wasn't a tactic to find someone. I didn't want to. So I didn't get back into dating. Thanks for the question anyway. Martial Arts Oriental Medicine, thank you very much for the donation. I appreciate it, man. And thanks for the support too. MAOM has been a long-time supporter. He says, Human, this live streams very good. Got it like 30 minutes ago. Just had a simple question. You like synthwaves? Synthwave? Ah, he's talking about music like MGA Drive, Carl Casey? Dark synth? Oh, not really dark synth. I know it's off topic, but just wanted to know. Have a great week. Love you, my friend. Have a good week too, man. I'm not into. There's some synthwave that I do like. Let me see if I can find one of the channels that I do appreciate. What's his name? Let me see if I can find him. Because it is. I can't find him now. But there's a particular synthwave channel on YouTube that I do like, and I can't find him at the moment. But mostly, no, I'm into the music that I'm more nostalgic about because it was about the only music I was into is mainly kind of movie soundtracks generally, not so much classical. I do appreciate classical, but movie soundtracks and EDM, more precisely progressive. So the people I'm into are people, certain songs from Deadmau5, like Coasted, the extended version. Back in the day, Carl Cox with certain music. Again, he's very, very broad in what he produces and plays. Our House, definitely an Australian EDM band. Our House is definitely my flavor. They did Dreams back in the day, but just generally like that. So I like more more heavy progressive um, techno or house. That kind of gives you an idea. And I think that Soundtracks kind of melded the two if it's a good song. So it's the best of classical and EDM. Any last questions or super chats, people? And I will call it a day. Enjoy the rest of my Sunday. Remember to like, subscribe, join if you would like to. Hey, Mr. Highway, how you going? Good to see you again. We need the Human Ambient Mix album. All right, guys. Oh, Mr. Highway asked an interesting question. Do you think the sphere is a good thing in the end? Yes, I do. In the end, on aggregate, it does more good than harm. For every man it unplugs, it radicalizes 10 more. Maybe the information could be available, but kept off social media. Yet no, like in books. The thing is, it's so easy. It's passive information that washes over you. Whereas books, you needed to do work, and you needed to sustain some sort of work to find it important. Now, the entertainment side of it gets people locked in. The ease at which it's passive entertainment. It's McDonald's drive-through Manosphere content now. So your work, your brain, your choices don't really come into it very much or at all. It's fun that's holding my hand and it'll take care of me with women. And most of the time, the way of it taking care of you is avoiding them, avoiding life, avoiding happiness, especially if you're a guy that wants kids. Martial arts, Oriental medicine. Thanks again for the super chat. You like stuff like Aphex Twins? I've heard of them. Orchard Boards of Cabana. Yes, the names you mentioned I grew up with and love to. Oh, okay. I might actually look them up. Martial arts. Yeah, cool. You like similar stuff to what I do. There's a guy, I've got him on my phone because I download a lot of this music. Have a listen to this guy. I really recommend him. For you guys who are into kind of heavier EDM music, more progressive type stuff. His name is, let's see, Daniel Deluxe on YouTube. And there's a song called Infiltrator. That's the kind of music I'm into. And also deadmau5's Coasted, the extended version. Look that up on YouTube. So those two are my favorite kind of EDM, sort of techno dance kind of electronic music. That'll tell you what my kind of core flavor is. But there's also stuff beyond that too. But I'll try and take a look at your suggestion to martial arts. Thank you for that. All right, any last super chats? And I'll go and try and enjoy the rest of my Sunday. I will. I'll enjoy it. I will enjoy the rest of my Sunday. And for the rest of you, if you'd like to jump on Gilded after this, if you have a microphone, list in the low bar and in my About section. If you want to have a chat amongst yourselves, I'll see if I can, because I might need to do a few things after this, but I'll see if I can drop in for a little bit. All right, guys. I will see you in the next video or in the next stream. I don't know which one that'll be, but I'm working on a pretty detailed video at the moment, which I recorded yesterday. So hopefully that's up. But like I said, nice long chat I had regarding the things I talked about today in this chat on my chat channel, link below. And I will catch you in the next content or video. All right. See you guys. Have a good weekend. Bye.